Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Adapt the Canvas. And we are going to go down the rabbit hole as we discuss these ideas around creativity, around, yes, Claire, yes, young Ed, familiar faces, thanks for joining. We're going to be discussing the subject of creativity from the perspective of time and how it works, how the mind works with time and the illusions that we buy into, and why it's a problem for creatives. We don't use it, we don't allow enough of it, and how it skews our perception of what it is that we're doing. Let's dive in. I can see the room's filling up. Let's dive in. So the deception, this session is called the deception of time. I think we need to have the conversation about time and the illusion of time and how time is preventing creatives out there from taking actions that they want to really take. So, is this you? Are you saying this? I'm not doing X because it takes too long. It's going to take too much time. Have you started a project, gone so far down the line, and realized it was the wrong thing to do, and then you've thought, I can't change. I've invested so much time in this thing, and I need to just keep going, even though it's wrong, even though you know it's not right, because you know how long it's going to take for you to change course. You just kept going, right? You did realize that you were doing the wrong thing, and then you stopped what you were doing, and you kind of got fed up. You got frustrated. You felt like, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna carry on doing this. I'm gonna go and do something I know is gonna pay me. I know I'm gonna be able to get that thing from straight away. But it's not your dream. It's not what you really want to do. But it's that instant gratification. It just works. You know it works. Whereas the long term thing, the vision, the goal, the dream, is going to take a long time to accomplish. And what's the thinking behind it? Am I prepared to put in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years into this thing, and I don't know whether it's going to work or not? And so I'm working with creatives across the board from all types of industries, and this is a common theme. People don't want to do things, If you think about how I'm working with creatives as well, I've seen these live streams, they've read the blogs. So again, if you want to join the newsletter, it's adaptthecanvas.com, join the newsletter there. And they've seen the live stream, they've read the blogs, they've maybe linked up with me on LinkedIn as well, maybe on Facebook, and they may have done that a year ago and they still haven't pulled the trigger on the coaching. So I'm seeing people that have consumed the content, and I do this myself. This isn't just me saying it about you. It's kind of how we all work. We consume content, we try and understand it, and then some of us, we've had this dream, we've had this idea, and we've been thinking about it for a while. Put your hand up if that's you. You've got this dream, you've got this project, you've got this thing that you want to do, but you're thinking about it for a while, but you haven't pulled the trigger yet. And time is passing. Here are some guarantees that you know is going to happen. Time's going to pass. You're going to get older. It's going to be 5 years from now, and you're going to look back and you're going to think, where did that time go? We all do this. If you've got children, you see how time passes in your children, right? We know that's going to happen, right? So, how are we going to use that to our advantage? Well, don't be that person that looks back in 5 years' time and says, you know what, I saw that live stream that Kay was doing, and he talked about time. And you know what? I didn't do anything. After the live stream was over, I just carried on watching Netflix. Or I went down the pub with my mate. Or XYZ, the thing that we do that isn't the thing that we really want to do. Why? It takes a certain type of energy to get going. It takes type of energy and commitment to get going. And the deception of time is this whole idea that I'm going to break down a concept later on in the show that most people aren't aware of even exists. And when you hear it broken down like this, it will help you understand something in a different way and hopefully give some of you the insight and the impetus to start taking action. So the problem with time and the way the mind works is we don't actually know how time works, right? What we consider clock time, the time that we look on your devices now, it will say a time, it's 6 minutes past 7. That's the time that we've decided to use to try and measure things in our reality. But time as it really occurs, how it actually happens in nature, is something else. You listen to physicists talk, it ebbs and it flows. When you're having fun, time flies, right? And time flies when you're having fun. So time moves really fast when you're having fun. Time moves really slow when you're having a really bad, boring time, where you're listening to a talk that's really boring, monotone, and it's like it's hard work to pay attention. School, remember in school when you just couldn't wait for the alarm bell to go so you could run home at 3:30. When we're stimulated and we get activities that we enjoy, time moves fast. When we're not stimulated and we're doing things that we do not enjoy, time moves slow. So how does that work, right? So here's another thing, what we tend to do. Time moves to the degree and work to the degree that we say it does. If we say it's going to take a long time, guess what? It will take a long time. If you say, yeah, I'll get that done now, and you do it now, it gets done, right? But the problem what we have is when we're working on projects, and what this is where I see resistance from creators, is that when they are stuck in what they're doing, the mind's calculating how long it's going to take before they can get into the money, right? And if you're self-employed, you work for yourself. Remember last week I said creators get paid for their ideas, but you only get paid for when it's finished, right? When it's in the marketplace, when people value it. How long does that take? Who knows, right? I've had plenty of experiments fail, plenty of projects that I thought were going to work that they didn't work, right? Sometimes I've spent the money before the things come in and being caught short. If you're self-employed, then it's up to you to be able to create and earn around that. People want definites, they want certainties, they want to know where their income's coming from. As a creative, sometimes you can't say, yeah, definitely this is going to happen. What does that create? Creates stress, that creates anxiety. The stress and anxiety is the death knell of creativity. Reduces your capabilities to think outside the box, reduces your ability to stay relaxed and allow ideas and inspiration to come to you. So we have all of these things combining into this single idea. When somebody's project doesn't work and they realize what they put into it hasn't worked, and then they have to start again and maybe potentially do the same amount of work again to get in a new direction to get this thing that they want, they're calculating how much time it takes. The minute you do that, you're out of your flow. And that's a clue on how to solve this problem, right? But once you pop out, and you're overthinking, now you're in overwhelm, now you're in high stress, you're trying to think your way through a problem that doesn't require thinking. Another clue, it requires intuition, right? And so what's the problem with it? We have a total disconnect in how long things take, why things take so much time. And the problem is, most people think certain things are going to take longer than they actually do. Sometimes they do, but sometimes it can be done shorter if you have the right frame of mind. Right, this is key to most things in life. It's about how you approach things. Do you have a can-do attitude? Do you have an experimental attitude? Do you have an open attitude? Do you have a problem attitude? Whatever you approach the thing in will be how you experience it as you're doing it. Terrible way to approach creativity, because if you get paid for your ideas, what ideas are you having when you're in that state? Right? And so these are some of the nuances of creativity. These are some of the nuances of creatives. And again, I'm sharing some of my experiences. I want to talk about certain things that aren't spoken about in our industry. I want to talk to certain people who are holding back from exploring their true potential, their true craft, their true artistry, because of belief systems that haven't been stress tested, because of thoughts that don't come from them, that come from a society, that come from a system that's basically a trap to keep us in their way of thinking, who don't support us. And we've had this conversation many weeks ago where the government have said that, you know, artists and creatives should go and get real jobs. Well, that doesn't help creatives who are trying to find what they're good at and share it with the world. Creative industry is one of the most well exported in the world. So we're doing something right. We just need more creatives to step up and trust their guts, trust their instincts, that they got something that is worth pursuing. But you've got to get past this whole idea that it's going to take a long time to do it. It's an investment. Right? You've got to switch how you think about it. It's like if it takes you 10 years to become, you know, a overnight success, well, that's an investment, because for the next 10 years, you're going to be living off your ideas. You're going to be living off your passion. You're going to be living off your excitement. Wouldn't that be worth it? We know time's already passing. We know 10 years is going to go just like that. And you know you're going to look back and think, what did I do with that time? So wouldn't it be good if you had that time and you knew you invested it in your new life experience? Nothing comes cheap. There's always going to be a payoff. With every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. You have to decide and pay the price of what it is that you're doing. Listen, if you don't do it, how will you feel? How will you look back in 10 years' time, not pulling the trigger, not taking action, knowing that 10 years is just gone? As opposed to if you do step into the arena and there's no guarantee it's going to work, but it's definitely no guarantee it's going to work if you don't do the work, if you don't step into the arena, right? It's definitely not going to work then. But if you step into the arena and you spend that 10 years, you invest 10 years into your craft, into your art. In 10 years' time, what will you be like? What will have changed? What would your experience be like? Who are the people you have met on the way? What would you have learned on the way? Like, that is the payoff. Right? Think about what would have changed in your life. Like, you won't know that until you get inside of it. You won't know that until you're going through the steps every day. You're overcoming challenges. You're changing your beliefs. You're meeting people. You're experiencing new cultures, new ways of thinking, new technology. You're learning. You're being open. You're being challenged. You're growing. The worst thing that people say is a problem in their lives is to not feel like they're making progress. Imagine 10 years down the line and you haven't changed. That's where frustration comes from, because you know you haven't progressed in life. You know there's something more you could be doing with your experience, with what you have been brought on this planet to experience right now. You know you could be doing more of it, but instead you've bought into the idea that you can't make a living out of it. And if you can, it's going to take this amount of time to do it. Listen, everything takes time. Time is this thing that, like I said in the beginning, it just is unquantifiable. We can't measure it. It's the unknown known, right? That we accept other people's ideas about it. I'm a big believer in stress testing. I'm a big believer in trying to hack the theories. I'm a big believer in not accepting the status quo of a situation. I'm a big believer in, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out for myself. I'm going to try it. What type of person are you? Are you just going to accept that this life that you're living, that's it, and then you can't change it because other people have said certain things, or you tried before and you failed? You know, what have you decided in your mind that you are because of that? And so this is where time becomes a factor in what we believe and accept, because we're looking back. So here's a paradigm about what time and how people think about time. We see today as the present. We see the past as something that's happened and we can't change it. We see the future as this thing that's so far forward that we can't have an effect on it. That's not how time actually works. Think about time as this cyclical event, this cycle that goes around and around. Think how you see time is measured in reality, right? It's a clock that goes around. Think how we talk about time in nature, the cycles of time. Planets, how do we measure time? Planets are going around the sun, right? That's how we measure time. Moon cycles, circles. How do you measure the age of a tree? Circles. So where do we get this linear idea of time in a straight line? Where does that come from? But that's been planted in our minds that that's what time is. No, that's not what time is. And so if that's not what time is, and we know time is a secular thing that goes around and around, it starts changing our ideas, because most people think that when you miss an opportunity because it happened in the past, it's not going to happen in the future. And the other thing that we tend to think about is, if I failed in the past, I'll fail in the future. If it didn't work in the past, it won't work in the future. Nonsense. These are ideas and they're concepts. And again, they haven't been stress tested. So how do you know they're the truth? Right? And unless you've got empirical evidence that you've done by yourself, that you categorically know and understand that it cannot work, then it's an experiment. Right? If you've been listening to these conversations that I've been having over the last couple of months, you'll know I'm a big believer in breaking things down, trying, experimenting, and breaking ideas down into manageable chunks. And so this idea needs to be rethought through. This linear idea, sequential idea of how time and reality work starts to break down because it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Is the system, what I just said, the explanation of time that I just said, correct? No, but it's a useful model to help me go from A to B to C to D, right? And this is what mental models are used for. In heuristics, mental models are used as frames so that we can understand reality in a way that makes sense to us so we can operate in it, right? So if we're using a system, a linear system of time, past, present, and future, and it doesn't work, we can create a new system in our minds, even if we're making it up, because that's what imagination's for, right? You imagine it, you can create something else. You don't have to stick to the rules of what someone else designed. They can be updated. Because what we want to create the new result for ourselves based on a perception that we are creating. And this happens all the time. You know what institutional mathematics is? Right? Institutional mathematics is mathematics that is created by physicists who are thinking about things. They don't have empirical evidence. They're thinking about things. They're coming up with hypotheses. They're thinking, they're imagining, they're using creativity, and then they set about proving it. And then once they have enough empirical evidence, that becomes something that gets interjected into society and we all start using it. Anybody could do that, right? Anybody could do that. You know, a theory is an idea. A theorem is the proof of it, right? That's what it is. A theory is the idea. A theorem is the proof of it. So these are just theories. These are just ideas. They're concepts. And so that's what we got to do. We got to get into these ideas we want to do with ourselves, our lives, our projects, our businesses, our brands. And we have some ideas. And this is why I'm doing these sessions and why I'm asking you guys to join the platforms. Because what we want to do is have more conversations like this. The more conversations you have like this, guess what happens? The more open your mind is. The more relaxed and calm your mind is. And it's open to more ideas. Because what's creativity? What's your imagination? It's anything you want it to be. Think about the technology that we're using right now. The technology that we're using to have this conversation. Where did it come from? Someone's mind. Everything that you see in your room and in my room came from someone's imagination. The light bulb was an idea that got tested hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of times until it became a reality. Imagine now if the person who made the light bulb, because there's a few people that were involved in it, it wasn't just Edison. There was a British inventor as well who created a filament. Edison created another filament and they experimented and boom, we get a light bulb. But it didn't just happen by one person. That was continuously over and over and over again. Imagine how many iterations did it take and how long did it take and over what period, and the consistency and the fortitude and the resilience. and the obstacles that had to be overcome to get to that whole idea. That's what this whole thing's about. That's what I'm trying to break down to you guys. It's like, you can't just falter at the first hurdle because you think that it's going to take a long time for you to get what you want. That's the wrong metric to measure what it is that you are trying to accomplish. Here's another breakthrough idea about what it is that's actually happening. So there's a concept called the 3 I's: the instinct, intuition, and imagination. And I like to think of it as a triangle with each eye on each triangle, the pyramid, right? And in the middle is this thing called the RAS, the reticular activating system. Why is this so important? Because what people misunderstand when you're working on a project is that when you say you're going to do something, most people set a goal, most people have a time frame. When you have an unrealistic time frame on a goal or a project that you're working on, the mind will shut down because it knows it can't be done in that time frame. So when the mind shuts down, you're not having any ideas, you're not being creative, you trust your imagination because it hasn't got enough time and energy to process the requests that you've put in to make this thing happen. When you have a longer period, this is why when I say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. If you allow yourself 10 years to become an overnight success, guess what? It'll happen a lot sooner. Why? Because the mind now is not compressed. Short time frames, unrealistic ideas compress the mind, reducing capabilities, reducing insights, reducing the imagination, reducing creativity. You go into a thing called foveal vision, which means you are in survival mode, which means all of your functions shut down so you can only see what's in front of you to escape danger. This is something that's been in people's systems throughout history, right? It's just how we're built. Switch that around, create a project, say it's going to take you 10 years, all of a sudden you start to calm down. There's no immediate time frame that's going to hinder the project. All of a sudden now, the mind's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. It's not stressed. It's not filled with anxiety. It's not worrying. All of a sudden now, it says, yeah, I can figure that out. Does all the computations. It uses the imagination. Right? Imagination needs calm. When do you have your best ideas? When you're walking on the beach, when you're in the bath, when you're in the shower, when you're daydreaming on the bus. Why? Because you're disconnected from your conscious thoughts. That's why when they say, I'll sleep on it, you go to bed thinking about a problem, you wake up in the morning with a solution. Because you allow your unconscious mind to do all the heavy lifting. That's the same thing with thinking about ideas. You're allowing your ideas to pop into your reality. We then use intuition. Intuition will guide us. And our instincts are what brings the connection with all these things together. Oh, it felt right. And so when you put the longer timeline on something, what tends to happen now is the quantum leap. This is what everyone thinks. The quantum leap is the smallest time between certain things, the smallest gap between certain things. So when people think about how long it's going to take something, no, you want to focus on tuning into your intuition. You want to focus on listening to your instincts, because what's going to happen if you're in that mode, you're operating on another level. You're operating in the flow state. And when you operate in a flow state, we all know what can happen in the flow state. Ideas are coming all the time. And how many ideas do you need to have that work that's going to change your life? One. And who knows when that will happen? It definitely won't happen if you don't start. It definitely won't happen if you're not invested in yourself. It definitely won't happen if you do not try. And it definitely won't happen if you're thinking 10 years is a long time. Right? And so we've completely looked at this phenomenon from a totally different perspective, because when we're too attached to this idea of time and how long things take, and it's not going fast enough, or, I need more time to do something, it's interesting because what we believed and what we've been taught into isn't how things actually are. And we, all of us, everybody does this at some point or other. We drift into the unknown, we daydream, we wonder, we create these scenarios, we use our imagination, we create these environments, these worlds in our minds, and we live there for a period of time and we feel good, right? If you ask anybody at Pixar how they come up with ideas, they'll tell you that's what they do. Pixar is this, we all know they make some of the best animations of the world. There's this phenomenon that Thomas Edison was known for, holding a metal ball in his hand, and he would have an afternoon nap, and he would just allow himself to go to sleep just enough till he relaxed enough to let the ball go, and that will wake him up, and he would have an insight. And we call that the alpha state. So this is the state just before you go to bed and just before you wake up. We know that as a potent time frame for creativity and ideas. Time is irrelevant, and we could also say that it's a flow state. So we've all had that. We've all been on a train, we've all been looking out the window, and we've all been organising our lives. We've all been thinking about certain things, looking at the plane window, in a classroom that's not been stimulated, and we've been miles away, right? Where is this miles away? Have you ever thought about that? When you've spoken to someone and they've been miles away, you say, hey, what's going on? Oh, I was miles away. Where were they? Physically or mentally? Right? Where were they? What part of them was miles away? Right? So you start looking at this thing from a different perspective. It's like that part of us was imagining something. That part of us was detached from the conscious brain, the conscious mind, the rigors of the day, the worries of and it was away. It was in this space. That is where the magic happens. That's what this is about. This is what all my courses are about. Getting into. Listen, let me clear this up. Everyone's saying they're special. You're not special. You're unique. There's a big difference. Okay, because you're unique, you have a gift and you have a talent that once you figure out what that is, that's what takes you to the next level. Right? We don't need to be special. We need to be unique. We need to figure out what is it about what we do that separates us from everybody else, that helps us as a creative, that is. Because remember, if you're creative, you get paid for your ideas. You have the same ideas as everybody else. So we want to figure out what makes us unique and how do we use that to create our gifts, our talent, turn that into a craft. And then once we turn that into a craft, then we can start monetizing that craft from things that we enjoy. Right? Very different concepts. So when we start breaking this thing down, we start to see its foundations. So this is a part of a curriculum that I put together, which was part of the offer that I spoke about earlier. So if you come on the course, we'll be doing this for 3 months. We'll be diving deep into this concept, into these ideas. I'll be able to break this thing down into actionable steps that you can do over a period of 90 days, which is the period of time that you need to change your mind, to change your beliefs, to change your patterns, to change your habits. Most people say it takes 21 days to create a new pattern. Maybe that's true. There's been lots of tests, and I've found this as well by working with my creatives for the last 10 years. It doesn't take 21 days. It takes on average 90 days. First 30 days, you're trying to understand the concept. Second 30 days, so that's 60 days, you've broken the pattern, you've broken the habits. The next 90 days, you're installing the new patterns, and if you stop doing the things that you did for 60 days, you start to feel like something's happening. So that process takes about 90 days. And in that period, you can be reconditioned, you can be reprogrammed. And that's why I'm offering this package for you guys who want to jump on it, to work together for 90 days, because that is a process of breaking the patterns, breaking the habits, and getting you into momentum, getting you onto the next thing that you really want to do, that will change your life. That's what's important. You won't just come in on these programs and just, be a spectator. You don't want to just come in, just getting, feel like you're being pumped up, and then tomorrow you go back to the thing that you did. Even after this call, I know some of you are just going to get back to what you were doing, right? Very few of you are going to actually pull the trigger, join the community, and come on the 90 days with me. You want to, but the patterns and the habits are so strong and so consistent in you that you're just going to switch off as soon as you do this, because that's the pattern. That's not even you, that's just the pattern. And then you'll come back on next week and get another hour of power and then switch off again, until one day you'll switch on and then you'll go, let me just go and do the next thing. That's how change occurs. So there's only probably about 20 people that are going to, from this call now, who are actually going to investigate what I'm talking about. And maybe 10 of you will look at the website, 5 of you will think about signing up, and maybe 3 to 2 will actually pull the trigger and sign up. That's just the process. That's just how it works. That's why I'm here every week reminding you, it's inertia you're going through, the habits that you need to break that you're going through, that conditioning that is making you perform, stay where you are, be repetitive, and not allow yourself to take new actions. That's just the program. We've all got programs. I've been conditioned in this way though, fortunately, since I was 15. I had a group of people around me, and that's the other thing. When you got that group of people around you, they're the ones who are going to help you recondition your mind. That's why communities are so powerful, right? And if you talk to people that have been on our platform for a few years, there's somebody on our platform I've been coaching for years on here right now. He'll tell you the community, the consistency, the environment, the network, that is part of the process of reconditioning your beliefs, your patterns and your habits to see what you're capable of. And that takes us full cycle back to the topic of the deception of time, because you need that time in the environment to recondition yourself, to change your beliefs, to change your patterns and change your habits. Think about Roger Bannister, how he ran the 4-minute mile. Before he ran the 4-minute mile, it was deemed impossible. They said that your lungs would explode if you tried to run the 4-minute mile. He ran the 4-minute mile. And what happened within the year? Loads of other people ran the 4-minute mile. It was like he gave them permission to think outside the box. He broke the pattern. He was the first person to show what could be done. Changed his mind. It changed a lot of people's minds. And the same thing happened with Dick Fosbury when he did the high jump. So Dick Fosbury was doing the high jump, and everybody was doing the high jump, doing the scissors. He created this other system where he was jumping over it backwards, and everyone was saying, no, it's not working, and he was perfecting it. And then he went to the Olympics and did it for the first time, and everyone was shocked, and he's like, my God, what's he doing? He's jumping over the thing backwards. Now it's normal. Jamie, thank you very much, bro. Now it's normal. Everybody goes over the high jump backwards now, because he proved it. He had the idea. Again, he used his imagination, he used his instinct and intuition. And he used his RAS, the reticular activating system, that guided him to the right people, to the right circumstances, gave him the right opportunities. So that's the other part of this, the triangle that I forgot to mention, sorry, but the reticular activating system, the RAS, which is a nerve center at the back of your skull, directs you to opportunities. Once you know what you want, and this is the whole thing about the system, when the system is incomplete, this is why people give up too early. They don't have a support system. Why do people not go to their goals? They don't know how to. Why? They haven't been taught. Why? They're around people who don't believe in it, who don't think in it, who don't consider it value. So if you don't have the value system of the people around you who see the worth in the investment that needs to happen, you won't do the work either, because you don't want to be the odd one out. You don't want to be the person that's reading these books and all your mates are making fun of you. Oh, you're a geek. Why are you reading books? It's like, I'm trying to educate myself. oh, just come out and have fun with us. You never come out anymore. It's like, well, you guys, I don't want to be around in 5 years, 6 years time when you guys are still doing the same thing. We haven't progressed. It's like, you got to take matters into your own hands and know that, like I said, time's going to pass. You're going to look back in 5 to 10 years and you're going to say, where did that time go? Those people that are invested in themselves, and I mean invested, you were literally, the whole concept of time is money isn't true. Time is actually energy. And if you don't use the energy that you have in a consistent, reliable way, you won't have the energy to make money. You won't have the energy to do anything. So if you're continually wasting your time drinking, spending time with negative people, negative environments, negative consequence, negative actions, negative thinking, reading the news, watching the news, consuming negative stuff. If you're continually consuming that, that's what your time is going to be used for. Guess what? There's a saying in computers called GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're continually putting that stuff into your environment, what do you think is going to come out of your environment? Why do you think your energy's low? You're watching low energy content. You're consuming low energy content. You're around people who are low energy. How can you give high energy when you're consuming low energy? It's not going to work. So if you're continually around these people who don't believe, who don't value, who don't think that what you're doing is going to lead to anything, you can't be around them if you want to go to the next level. You have to be around the next level. That's when they say, if you want to be a great footballer, you need to hang around people like Zidane, Beckham, Zola, right? You don't want to be playing on the Sunday leagues with amateurs. Sure, it's going to be fun for a minute, but if you want to go to that next level, you have to push yourself and be around people that are playing the game at such a high level. They embarrass you every moment that you go and touch the ball. Why? You will learn faster. That embarrassment, if you can get through that embarrassment and that shame and that awkwardness, if you can get through that, you'll start to pick up on what's going on in the game. You'll start to be, in a year's time, playing with players like that, you'll be one of those players. And you'll spot the newbie coming in who doesn't know how to kick the ball properly, who doesn't know how to do any, tricks or whatever. You'll start to see, right, that's who I was 2 years ago. And by seeing someone who just comes in, that will give you an idea of how much you progressed. Because one of the things that people do when they're studying, they're developing themselves, they think it's not working because they can't see the results. Do you know the bamboo tree? It takes something like 9 years growing underneath the ground, right? And there's no sign of it it's growing. The bamboo tree, right? There's a seed. It sits in the ground for something like 8 to 9 years. There's no sign of it growing whatsoever. You just got to keep watering it, right? 9 years, nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just grows. And in 8 months, it grows to the height that it becomes. In 8 months, 9 years, it's growing in the soil. And then now you can understand why I keep saying it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Because if you can endure 10 years of working without getting recognition, without getting noticed, without earning big money, without luxurious studio, without all the trappings of success, if you can just focus for 10 years on a craft, right? The universe will provide you with something way beyond what you can ever imagine, right? And I've seen it so many times. I've been in this industry, the creative industry, for the best part of all my life. And I've seen people who have been dedicated, who've stuck at it, and who've become a success that went way beyond their dreams because they stuck at what they believed in. They didn't just dip in and out. They didn't get put off because it didn't work. They believed in what they were doing and they stuck at it. Even when they didn't see any results. Even when people told them that they were mad. Even when they had to dip out a little bit and get a part-time job and maybe do something, but they stuck at it and they came back and they carried on. And then boom, it happened. For me, it was 7 years before I started to get any type of success. When we were in full cycle, it took about 7 years. 8 years, and then bam! When it happened, it was like a hockey stick, and it just carried on and on and on and on. Like I'd like met me 14 years of unimaginable success that took me all around the world, fulfilled my wildest dreams. I never thought I was ever going to get out of the neighborhood that I was born in, but through just believing in myself, doing the work, and being around a group of people that believed in the same thing, boom, changed my life. And I'm seeing it now with these new businesses that I'm building, the new groups of people that I'm hanging around, the new infectious mindset of the people that I'm hanging around. It's happening a lot quicker. And that's because of, the way that I've been conditioned and my habits and my beliefs. I'm conditioned to see this as a possibility. If you're not conditioned to see it as a possibility, then you won't even take action on it. Most people are having a dream, and the first thing they say when they have it's not ever going to work. Well, how do you know? It's just a dream. So and so I spoke to at work said it's never happened. Well, they're in the same job that you're in. They're not doing the thing that you want to do. Is there anybody out there doing the thing that you want to do? I pretty much guarantee there is. Go and speak to them and find out what they had to do to be able to achieve the thing that they're achieving. And they'll tell you that it's not what you think it is. And every day you got to work. Every day you got to design it. Take it seriously. Prove to your unconscious mind that you want this thing to work, and it will provide to you the resources necessary. But if you dip in and out for 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, another 6 months without doing it, your mind knows you're not serious. The people around you know you're not serious. Why are the people around you going to support you? Stop what they're doing and support you when you're not taking yourself seriously. Admittedly, a lot of it is to do with our own ignorance around how things work, and there's no real training out there for how people make dreams into reality. Direct me to a course where it says how you turn your dreams into reality. Direct me to a course where it says, how do I build, £100 million company? There isn't much stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff around how do you get a job? How do you start your own business? By the way, a lot of the things that people are teaching you to start your own business aren't done by people who have started their own business. You go to do an MBA, this is business studies in universities, maybe 1 out of 100 teachers teaching that course has actually started their own business. So they're teaching you a theory. That's why online education from people like myself will be more practical, because I have a track record of successes and failures, and I can spot it in someone's language patterns whether they're going to succeed or not. I'd spend money with these guys listening to their stories because they've actually been in the game. Would I be credible to you speaking like this if you guys didn't know of my history in the music game? Would you listen to me if I hadn't had any experience? There's stuff that I'm talking about that creators are listening to and starting to take nuggets from, because they know it's like, that's like some whole nother level of thinking that I'm not even aware of. That's because I wasn't aware of it until I got in the game. I'll tell you a story. I was in a DJ's house in London as I was coming up on my journey. I was, maybe 2 years into my journey, and I thought I knew it all, right? And the DJ that I was talking to, they'd been doing it for at least 10 years. They had toured. They had been signed to agencies. They'd made money. They'd lost money. They'd done loads of gigs, And I was saying something, and he said to me, "How do you know that?" And I was like, well, and I didn't actually know. I just thought it was, because I had had a little bit of experience, and I thought it was. He said, that's not actually how it is. And until you spent 5 or 10 years in the industry performing at this high level, you aren't going to know. And it was like a bit of a shock, but it was the truth. All progress starts with the truth. And when he hit me with that, I had to just sit down, because it was the truth. I didn't have any experience in it. Fast forward 15 years, I went back to him. I said, you know what you said to me was so true, because I didn't know. Now, I've got experience. Now I can meet people along their creative journey. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. Why? Because I've experienced it. I've built companies, I've failed at companies. I've had a career's fell off. I built it back up, I've gone to the top, I've gone to the bottom. I've had companies that worked, I've had companies that didn't work. I've had projects that were successful, I've had projects that failed. I've had tracks that have been huge, I've had tracks that were terrible. I've had relationships in the business with people that have been helpful. I've had relationships with people in the business that have been terrible. I've had so much experience that when I'm working with people, I can tell. I can tell whether you're going to do it or not, just by your language patterns, just by the way you walk in the room. Anybody who's been in any business for 20 or 30 years can see that. And that's why it's so valuable to be around people in the environment who are doing the thing that you want to do. If you want advice to become the best producer in the world, go and speak to the best producer in the world. Right? If you want to become a professional dancer, go and hang out where all the professional dancers hang out. Don't waste your time talking to people who have nothing to offer you. They're going to tell you the fears and the worries and the anxieties about the thing that they have never had the balls, the guts, the courage to step into. They'll just tell you the problems. I could tell you the problems about any industry that I've been involved in, but guess what? That's never stopped me from going into a situation that I don't know nothing about. Why? Because I've got the nervous system of a pioneer. I've got the nervous system of a creator. I've got the nervous system of an experimenter that says that even though I don't know what to expect, I'm curious enough to step into that space and explore it. Curiosity alone would get me into a space and I'll be like a kid in a toy shop. Whoa, what does that do? What does that do? You know, it's like you can't break reality. Right? You can't break reality. So you can push all the reality buttons you like and see what the results come out as. And then you measure it. And then you go again. Right? That didn't work. Let's go over here. Right? That button didn't work. Let's try this one. This program didn't work. Let's try that one. You cannot break the world. You cannot break the universe. You cannot break reality. So you might as well try. You might as well experiment. You might as well have some hypotheses and put them to the test. I said to myself, from now on, I'm just going to do these year-long experiments. And so I'll start a project and I'll just do it for a year and then see how it went. What did you learn from it? Well, that worked, that didn't work, that didn't, and these become my new operating systems. So in November of this year, I'm going to be doing some workshops for the exhibition that we put on called This is Jungle. So if you came to the This is Jungle exhibition, we're going to be doing that again later on in the year. And one of the workshops that I'm going to be doing, and probably a keynote speech as well, is called Jungle OS, Jungle Operating System. I'm going to be breaking down how I've created an operating system and what an operating system is, for me anyway. And we all have one. We all have this operating system that we live by, what we believe is, works for us. You can upgrade it. You can create a new one. And what I'm going to be suggesting, what I have been suggesting, this is what this conversation is about. Create an operating system that works for you. Create a new one. Don't just settle for the reality that you got. You can create something new. And it starts with understanding that all of this stuff is programming. Great. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this time as well. We're coming up to the top of the hour. So let me recap. We talked about the deception of time. We didn't finish my list because I went off on a tangent. But I'm going to turn this into a blog. So you'll be able to read the blog on the adaptthecanvas.com, where you can consume. The link is in my bio and on my Facebook pinned post. Join the community. And get the offer to do the 90-day challenge with me. So if you join the community, we're going to have a coffee morning on Friday. I'm going to be talking a lot more, and it's going to be a Zoom, so you can ask questions and it'll be more interactive. Next week, I'm going to talk more specifically about the course and how you can get involved and what you're going to get out of it. So thank you everybody for joining this week. It's been an amazing... Yes, great. Thank you. If you are ready to take it to the next level, please join the community. Thank you everybody for the coffee hours midday every other Friday on the platform. It's going to be more interactive, more input from you guys, be asking direct questions, and it's going to be just a lot more exciting for both of us when we communicate. I can see your faces. I can put some faces to names as well, which would be fun. You can start your journey. You can start a new journey with a group of like-minded creators who are doing exactly the same thing that you want to do. Some of the creators on that platform are starting from square one. Some of you are further along, and we're just here to build. We're here to help you grow. We're here to take you to the next level. So thank you for everybody that's joined. Thank you everybody that's left some amazing conversations on there. I really enjoy this. I hope you guys do. I love reading the comments. This is a lot of fun for me. Let's take it to the community page. Let's keep this conversation going. The community page again is the link in my bio to join the community. There's also a link on Facebook as well where you can join the community page. And I hope to see some of you on there. Hope to see some of you on a coffee morning on Friday as well. Until next week, have a great, fantastic week. Namaste. See you soon. Bye-bye.